What's going on, everyone? Welp, the inevitable happened, right? It hurts. It hurts. As a Laker fan, right? Last thing we want is Boston to break the tie and us not even have a chance to fight. Us sitting at home having to watch this unfold. You know, there was hope going into the playoffs that maybe somebody would squeak it out, right? I was really hopeful that maybe Miami with Jimmy Butler can make some noise, but ultimately what happened was what we all kind of expected, that Boston, weak East, just going to walk to the NBA Finals. It's just going to be cakewalk for them, not really much resistance. And that was the case, right? Literally, they just walked to the NBA Finals. They only lost 2 games the entire way, and those games were more about them losing than the other team beating them, right? It just kind of felt like they were just like, we're just better than everybody. Let's just kind of coast. And they did it without Kristaps Porzingis, which he's arguably their second best player, second most important player at least. It just sucks again, right? But you'd wish that there was just a little more resistance, right? Like that's my biggest problem. It's like Boston, they had no pushback, right? Like they were just far and away the best team. Even the teams that they did face all suffered key injuries. You see in the first round they play Miami and no Jimmy Butler. Then they play Cleveland and they had like no Jared Allen. Donovan Mitchell ends up getting hurt, and then you go to Indiana. Tyrese Halliburton gets hurt. It's just, again, there's little resistance, and Dallas hopefully, right. First, fingers crossed, we need Dallas to handle business. I'd love to see Luka go and get a ring. Love to see Kyrie get another one. Dallas, I think, just from what we've seen, I mean, they've looked very good. On paper, Boston is, again, the better team. Like, Boston should win that series. But, this Dallas team has looked very different. Right? This Dallas team just looks good. They look hungry. Boston has loved to play in these close games, and Dallas might have the 2 best closers in the entire playoffs, or entire league, really. I mean, Kyrie and Luka have just been spectacular as in the fourth quarters and closing games. So if Boston plays Dallas close, Dallas is going to win that series. Right? If Dallas has 4 games that are close, in my opinion, I trust Dallas more to close those out than I do the Boston Celtics. Right? But obviously, Dallas has still got it. They got to get through the first hurdle, which is closing out the Minnesota Timberwolves, which isn't going to be easy. Ideally, I'd love for, at this point, Dallas to sweep Minnesota, so that way they kind of keep pace with Boston, so there's not like this, now Boston's got a week worth of rest and Dallas only has 2 days or something like that, right? Like, where if Dallas handles business tomorrow and they end up closing out that series, they'd have a week off, which I think is going to be very valuable because Luka has kind of been hobbled. They have a couple guys that have been hobbled, right? Lively's supposed to miss game 4. So this would kind of just give everybody, Boston too, especially with Kristaps Porzingis, but also Dallas, who their best player has had questions all playoffs about just injury. So if they could kind of go to their corners, right, kind of regroup, game plan, get ready to execute. I trust Jason Kidd over Joe Mazzulla. So I think Dallas has the coaching advantage, right? I think they have the closing advantage. I think Luka may end up being the best player on the court night in and night out. Can Kyrie be the second best player on the court? Dallas could, they may be able to do this thing. And again, some people might look at, the Minnesota, which I want in Minnesota because I just think Minnesota matches up better. I really want to see, and Ant-Man is just ridiculous. But, nothing's impossible. I've always said it. You never really know. I'm a betting man. I would take Dallas to end up winning at some point. Hopefully it's game 4. Hopefully there's clean sweep, both sides are good, and then boom, you have this crash course of Dallas versus Boston. Right? That's what I want. And then hopefully Dallas ends up handling business, ends up eliminating Boston, because I really don't want them to get the tiebreaker. At least have that matchup, that showdown, that Boston versus Lakers. That to me would have been great. Number 18, battle of 18, right? And then if Boston wins, then they win. It's like, hey, you did it to yourself. But man, for us to not even have a chance at it, it's frustrating. But also, does this like just give the Lakers a little more motivation, right? Jeannie Buss in particular. The Lakers Celtics rivalry, right? I know a lot of like, newer age and stuff like that. They don't really care like it because it hasn't been a rivalry for them. But a lot of the older heads, people even in my age group, like we all grew up with this Lakers Celtics rivalry. We all grew up with, like you love the Lakers, you hate Boston, right? So I wonder if, maybe this lights a little torch of like, hey, we were supposed to get 18 before Boston. We dropped the ball, right? We messed it up. Like we had an opportunity to do so and we haven't, right? So, if this is like motivation, right? The problem is, does the motivation go away if Boston loses, right? Because again, I've said from day one, right? Boston should win the championship, right? Boston by far is the best team in the league, front to back on paper. But I cannot trust Boston until they prove to me otherwise. Every year they're in the conference finals. They've been in the finals against a team that they probably should have beaten. And it looked like they were going to beat. And it fell apart. It's just, you see these teams, man. It's like every year, it's their year. And every year they just crumble and fall apart. I feel like that about the Clippers in the West, right? Like every year the Clippers have one of the best teams, if not the best team. Super team is stacked or this, that, and the other. And they lose in the first or they lose in the second round. Every single time. Right? And it's just like Boston, they've just lost in the conference finals every year. And then once in the finals. And now they're in the finals again. Are they going to lose again in the finals? I hope so. Right? But my question is like, if Boston loses, does that take away any motivation? I mean, obviously the question, period, is like, is there motivation? Do the Lakers look at it as like, hey, like, we need to catch back up, right? Like, because they could win more, right? Because they're not going to. This team is probably their team for the next, 3 years at least, right? Like, so, got to imagine, especially if they win the championship. If they win the championship, you got to imagine that they're gonna keep this core together and they're gonna keep trying to win. If they don't, right, then maybe they retool. But like how? Like maybe you trade Jaylen Brown, but outside of that, it's like how are you gonna really upgrade the roster? Are you kind of locked in? But if they do pull this out, right, I definitely think that would give Jeannie some motivation because that's also going to be the talk, right? Boston wins. I'm sure there'll be a little bit of talk, but if Boston wins it, there's going to be a lot of talk of like the tiebreaker being broken. Lakers, did they mess up? Do they regret X, Y, and Z? Oh my gosh, does LeBron? Like, it's going to be like chaos, right? It's just usually how it goes. But if Boston loses, then I think more of the conversation will be about Boston's error. Like, here we go again. Boston in the finals again. Boston blows it to a team that they should have beaten. Oh, Boston this, but I don't think there will be that Laker narrative like there is right now with or there would be if the Celtics ended up winning, right? So my concern is like, does that motivation go away? I hope that there is some level of like, we need to get back on track here, right? Like I hope the Lakers don't look at this and go, like it's whatever, right? Because Jeannie and Rob, like they grew up with that, right? They grew up with the Celtics rivalry. Rob Pelinka, Kobe's agent. He was there when Kobe's talking mess about Boston, talking about how much he hates Boston, and he knows how much it pained Kobe to lose that finals to Boston, right? And we're able to get it back, right? But still got the tiebreak, right? So it's like I would hope that there's some level of like urgency of like, okay, we need to get this done. Right? Even LeBron. Like LeBron's got a huge history with Boston. You don't think LeBron's probably kind of like, man, here we go again. Here goes the Boston talks. Like, let's go handle business. Like, let's get this done. I don't know, kind of get back to a tie, and then hopefully they can overtake the tiebreaker. We'll see. But it sucks. It does. Like, you knew going into this game, you knew Boston was going to win. I mean, Indiana put up a fight. I'm not going to lie. Like, Indiana had a little more experience and Tyrese Halliburton didn't get hurt, this might have been a very different series. Because Indiana was in like all of these games and were like winning in all of these games late. They just, again, couldn't close down the stretch like Boston did. And two, Tyrese Halliburton missed, 3 games? And then 3, it's like, you saw a lot of their inexperience at times, especially down the stretch, where I just think if they had a little more experience, kind of had their things together, this might be a completely different series. But also, how much of it, like Boston, because also obviously if Kristaps Porzingis is there, probably maybe it's not as close. Or you could also argue how serious did Boston take Indiana, right? Like how serious did Boston take the East? Period. Kind of felt like that. It kind of felt like they just were like, we'll just win, right? Even when they lost like the game in the first 2 rounds, they were just like, look, and Tatum's like, I know we're supposed to be perfect, but it just seemed like, look, relax, we're gonna win this series, right? Like nobody's gonna beat us in the East, right? So I don't know. Come on, Dallas. That's what we're rooting on. Come on, Dallas. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion. Pass a question on you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. What do you think? How do you feel? What are your thoughts? What do you think of the series? You think Boston pulls it off? Does it bother you? Does it not? Again, how you feel, whatever your thoughts are, I'd love to hear it. So let me know down in the comments below. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me a lot. Helps me enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. Not subscribe to the channel, hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one. Thank you.